This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
Happy Valentine's Day out there to all you that will be listening now and later on as we share it everywhere in the world here. Good evening. I'm Mac from the Mac and Jack Sports Show, and it's NESSP in the morning. Wow, that's hard to get out. And joining me right off the bat, and we'll have other people coming into the show as we go along. Sonia Pearson from Prim and Proper Sports, NESSP at night. How you doing, Sonia?
Hi, I'm doing well, Mac. How are you? And happy Valentine's, everyone.
Yes, we are. We made it to Hump Day, and we got some sad news that we got to share, I guess, right away. There are people out there that are just nuts. They don't know how to solve problems with their fists anymore. They got to shoot people. It's a sad society we live in certain parts at certain times in the country. Mass shooting in Kansas City after the parade. One's dead. There were 2 more people that the police have right now in custody. 11 of those, there were 12 to 15 injured. 11 of those are children, Sonia. It's a sad thing, and not a happy Valentine's Day for those parents out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely a sad time to know that those children, those parents held their children out of school today. And to my understanding from another Kansas City fan that I am connected to, it was a brawl that spilled over. No one fights with their fist anymore. A lot of innocent people impacted by that. And just a sad day for Kansas City to know that they are at the height of celebration and to basically have the rug pulled from under them. Someone got up today to celebrate this event and is no longer with us.
Unbelievable. I mean, yeah, it started off as a happy thing, a joyous thing, and now it's become a grave situation. Our thoughts and prayers are out to the people there and their children that have been injured, and of course our hearts are out to the person that has died out there. So let's turn to sports that's why we're on the air right now. Sonia, a couple players from the past in the Panthers, running back Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey kind of feels it's his fault that the 49ers lost. When you fumble a ball and you're ready to go in a touchdown. I mean, I know I played ball, I coached football, and things like that happen. But a day after, 2 days after, you're gonna blame yourself if you make a big mistake like that.
Yeah, it definitely starts to wear on you, especially after the adrenaline from the game itself tends to wane after, as the hours go by. And you kind of reflect back to see just what you could have done differently. That was a huge fumble by McCaffrey. I literally gasped when it occurred because they had made such a good progression and were literally within scoring range when it occurred. So it's one thing to have a fumble or a mistake further back or out of field goal range, but to be literally within the goal of making a touchdown is significant. I still feel a lot of pride for Christian. There were a couple of other mistakes, but of course, him being, one of the people that they depend on the most, he's gonna, take that blame upon himself, which any good player would, rather than blame other people. He did fumble. Whether or not that actually cost him the game, it definitely contributed to the overall mistakes that we saw on the field, including Ray McCloud's fumble himself, and just poor ball management. Just the fact that they even allowed the game to go into overtime proved to be detrimental to them.
Oh, no doubt. And Christian McCaffrey doesn't really do that. He doesn't fumble the ball much. It just, at that time, and you're in the biggest game of your life, you may never get back there again. And to leave with something like that's really gotta weigh on you. But listen, Christian McCaffrey had a good game overall. Did a great job for him. Had a great season. The 49ers will be fine going forward next year, except they won't be going forward with a defensive coordinator, Sonia.
Right. Steve Wilks was released today. I was actually shocked by that news. It broke a couple of hours back. After just 1 year with the team, he's now released again, finding himself in the same situation he's found himself in before, not completing an entire duration, or so to speak. I mean, he was with the 49ers. We thought he did great. He actually did really well defensively with that team. We saw that team look better defensively in the Super Bowl than they had pretty much the majority of the year. And to hold off Kansas City as much as they did is commendable. So I'm not sure, what the 49ers are thinking in releasing him. But other news out there is Brandon Ayuk may not return. He's at the end of his rookie deal. And he actually went on and kind of posted a cryptic message on social media saying basically whatever works for the best is how he would come back. So we've seen teams in the past go to the Super Bowl and lose, and those teams implode. I mean, I've seen it a couple of times where they just can't afford those same players. They're going to have to come up with the money to pay Brock Purdy, who is at the end of his year. And he was only making, I think, $700,000 a year right now. And now that he's taking this team to the Super Bowl, he's going to want more money. But the 49ers are over their salary cap. So it's going to be interesting to see just who all gets moved around in this offseason.
Well, I was talking to Jack this morning on NESSP in the morning. I said, 49 defense dominated in the first half. And of course, they kind of fell off in the second half. You're playing one of the greatest coaches and one of the greatest, quarterbacks in a long time in the NFL. And, I said, I have a feeling that something's going to happen here. And maybe it's a defensive coordinator. And I've seen how the NFL reacts now. Even it doesn't matter how good you do during the season. Some coaches, they stay on and the coordinators get fired. I mean, if you think about it, Kyle Shanahan is the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. And that is partly his responsibility, right? Whatever happens there, he can always say no. And he did override the coach a couple times this year. And I guess he did in this game. I think it's just the scapegoat. You got to do something, right?
That's exactly the phrase that was used. I had shared the news with some of the Panthers admins in a group that I run, because we're still, fans of Steve Wilks and still kind of feel like he got a raw deal in Carolina. And they literally, those were the exact words. You got to have a scapegoat somewhere. Someone has to take the blame. Unfortunately, they always say defense wins championships. And since they didn't win, I'm assuming that's how the defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, was gone. But I'm pretty sure somebody will grab him up somewhere. He's got to be able to, fit in somewhere. I wish we could bring him back, honestly, Mac.
I don't know if he'd come back after what happened to him, but
right.
Who knows? Maybe you would. Bo Crouch just popped in. For some reason, Bo Crouch's site jumped on mine. I had to edit because for some reason I have a problem with 6 p.m. on Wednesday. I always want to put it to 7 p.m. I always go back and say, no, 6 p.m. But anyway, I actually had Bo's site on my board. I could have popped in and said hi to Bo if I wanted to, but I didn't because I know, after a hard time I gave him last week, Bo probably would have just said, "You stay down below there, Mac." How you doing tonight, Bo?
Doing all right. How about you?
Not too bad. I get your opinion real quick. Of course, we covered the big shooting in Kansas City after the parade. 11, 15 people were injured. One person shot dead. They got a couple people they're holding in custody over there. And, a happy day celebrating a Super Bowl ended up turning into a pretty bad day out there, Bo.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's something you never want to see for sure. I mean, if nothing else, it stems from clearly there's some mental issues that the country has to take a little more seriously than it does.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Sonia said, the kids don't fight with their fists like maybe we used to. You got to be worried somebody's going to pull a gun now. So it's kind of scary out there to be a kid, you know. So we were talking about the Super Bowl, a little bit about the Super Bowl, and you know what happened there. One thing I want to go back to Sonia here real quick for a couple more things. Of course, Julius Peppers again doesn't get the Hall of Fame nod. You know, with the Patriots and with the Panthers, great defensive end. You know, to me, it's weird how they pick the NFL's Hall of Famers. I think Julius Pepper was a dominant defensive end, and then you get players that go in there that are like, yeah, they're pretty good. You know, they're very good maybe, but they're not dominant. And I think Julius Peppers was dominant during this time, Sonia.
And see, and that's weird because I actually thought he got the final nod.
He did get in.
Yeah.
Did he get in?
Yeah,
Yes, he got in a couple of days ago.
Congratulations.
He scared me, Matt, because I was like, wait a minute, what?
No.
Well, the last-
I literally just flipped back to my notes because I'm like, wait a minute, like
Same thing. And I was sitting here like, wait a minute, did something happen?
Yeah, what
that they
happened,
found
right? No.
some scrutiny
Listen.
on him and they canceled it? I didn't know.
Yeah,
see, Matt's
I
just
swear-
out here spreading nonsense. It's what we see all the time. I get it.
It's
swear to
because
God.
he's a Panther. You know how Mac does with the Panthers.
I swear to God, when I took a look at it, they talked about why he wasn't good. Maybe it was why he wasn't going to make it. That could be what
in
it
the
was.
beginning, yeah.
All right, so that's what it was. So I didn't mean to scare you there.
That's okay. Yes, he's going in. Congratulations to J Pep. Went with Green Bay for a little bit, then came on back to Carolina. Number 90 will be inducted in Canton in August, and I'm so excited. I may try to get up there. I've been a few years ago, but it would be super exciting to see JP go in. I went when Tony Dungy got in.
Oh, cool.
All right.
Very cool.
A little bit about the draft course. We got free agency going on right now, so a lot of players will be maybe moving from team to team. You're going to see some, players getting signed at different teams, which happen a lot these days. I miss the old days when players would stay with their teams more. Then you got the combine where all the guys will be running around in their shorts and no shirts on, and so that's open for everybody to go to and see. And then of course, then we have the draft, and the draft, of course, is a huge thing. The Panthers right now, from what I read, they're looking for a wide receiver and an edge rusher are both high on their list. But I think really the Panthers need a little bit of everything, Sonia.
Yeah, we need everything from management, from owner, water boys. Everybody needs to clear out, like literally, with the exception of Bryce.
Away.
Yeah, we really need. We may even need to switch out Sir Purr because I think his cheering days for us have negated, or whoever's playing Sir Purr right now. We definitely need some of everybody. We have no draft picks, so we're going to have to definitely capitalize on a free agency. We should have the money, even though we're still paying 2 other coaches, and I think even Cam is getting some money from us. We're paying like 4 or 5 quarterbacks. It's crazy. But we need an entire offensive line. If we don't get an offensive line, nothing else is going to matter. So I know they've been talking about a wide receiver for quite some time, but the wide receiver position is just the beginning of what we need for this franchise, or we're going to be going into year number 8 of losing, and it's getting to be kind of difficult.
Well, I mentioned it.
Good. I was just going to say this year is going to be kind of rough because, to your point, you don't have any draft picks, and you actually don't have a lot of cap space coming into this year. It's a rough spot to be in. It's now it's not going to take a lot to be better than last year. So, I mean, in theory, it should take a step forward, but it's going to be a while, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mentioned Sonia. I mentioned edge rushers because you got a couple of edge rushers that are coming up on free agency. Whether they sign them or not, we shall see. So if they don't sign, if I was a free agent, I think I would want out of Carolina. And this is why I'm talking about maybe the draft where they may have to pick up a couple edge rushers or at least one. But yeah, they're going to have to do some really good low round drafting. So I hope their scouting department is up and ready to roll there. That's for sure.
And that's the other thing. Like, it's difficult to work with Tepper. Like, he literally is so involved with everything. You see how he ended up with the one that chose Bryce when the coach at the time and the GM wanted CJ Stroud. He's so involved that like no one even wants to really come to Carolina. So not only we're giving up this first draft, we've given up another draft in the second round, and then we've even given up a 2025 draft. Like we won't have anything for a while for this franchise.
Yeah. Well, if I guess you what you sow what you how's it go?
So,
there you go. Yes, you do. Bo,
Yeah, but you're not generally trying to reap the dysfunction you're sowing.
no, you're praying, as my grandfather used to say, you're praying for crop failure. You're sowing a bad seed and you're praying for crop failure. That's what my grandfather used to say.
All right. So Sonia brings in one of her grandfather's sayings, and we're all the wiser for it. Bo, let's get to the Seahawks a little bit. Mike McDonald, they hired Greb, former Dallas Cowboy line coach. He's now the defensive lineman over there, a defensive coordinator, over there. Leslie, pronounced that, is it Frazier, of course, the assistant head coach. A lot of experience there to maybe help him out a little bit. Jay Harbaugh, the special teams coach. And there's still a lot of decisions to make over there, especially when it comes to quarterback, AJ Brown. I mean, are they going to pay him? I would imagine they're going to try and hold on to Geno to keep some kind of a consistency there on offense, right? I would think that would be the play there.
So they have some decisions to make because there's not a lot of cap space. The coaching staff is interesting in the way that your head coach, your offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator have no NFL experience in the positions they're taking. So that's kind of interesting. But we also have 20 free agents that are up to re-sign or whatever. So this team's going to look wildly different going into next year. Now, in theory, we should find out about, to Rob's point here, about Geno here in the next, week or so. You also going to find out about Drew Lock because he signed a 1-year deal. So he's one of the free agents that's up. And if they are going to go the route of drafting a quarterback, then Drew Lock is probably odd man out there. So I would imagine you stick with Geno. You know what he is. He's got a fairly team-friendly deal. Also has outs after every season. If you were to sign Drew Lock, I don't know if he's signing something like that. So, I mean, the other thing that makes you think maybe they make a play for Penix is Grubb was the offensive coordinator for the Washington Huskies. And he spent an afternoon down in Alabama and then came back to the Seattle area. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch. There's going to be a lot of change. The one thing I do know about this program is they are going to have an incredible amount of pressure to perform immediately.
I hear you. Good evening to Jim Jeffcoat, our Super Bowl champion, our legend of the game. Member of the 100 Sack Club. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Jim, I tried, and I'll get back to you in a second here because I got to talk to Jim here privately on there. So, Jim, when I sent you 6:15, you said, "Are you looking to book a flight?" I mean, what were we talking about there? He said to me, "What did you say?" I'm like, what did I say? I don't know what the heck. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
See, I don't know. Really? Well, somebody sent me something, and so maybe that's why. All right. So anyway, welcome to the show, Jim. We talked about we were talking about the shooting. Get your thoughts real quick over there in Kansas City before I jump back to Bo. 11 or 15 injured now. One child was killed.
Yeah.
2 people are now.
Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm really sad about that. That happened. I mean, you're supposed to be celebrating championship, and people go out there and do crazy stuff like that. It's really sad. It's really sad. It's the type of world we're living in now that this is not okay. This is not okay.
I hear you. And we're going to talk about a few things.
When we won our first Super Bowl, it was crazy. They were burning. I mean, cars were burning and people were looting and stuff like that.
I interviewed Phil McConkey, wide receiver of Giants. And at the end of the game, when they were going over the field, Phil McConkey actually found a gun on the field You know, and you know, he found it, he picked it up, he alerted the authorities. I guess the guy, a fan or something, was trying to get on the field and he lost his gun. Something happened there where it could have been a tragedy too. So, you know, you get nut jobs that just want attention a lot, and they'll do things like this just to do this. So that's what I thought. I'm going to get back to Bo here, bring CJ the Painkiller up real quick.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
There he is. All right. CJ, we're talking about, of course, the shooting in Kansas City, you know, with that bad timing. With you know, the
listen,
shooting.
hang on a second, Mac. Before you say something, before you say anything else, I want to give my thoughts about the shooting in Kansas City. Because to me, the Kansas City Chiefs should be the first people to step up to the microphone, to hold some sort of press conference or whatever, and say that they condemn the action. Now, I get it that it's not under their control, and it's not under their control if some yo-yo is going to bring a pistol or whatever and start firing shots in the air or start taking pot shots at people or whatever. But you know what? In a place where there's supposed to be celebration and joy, you're bringing a championship to the city, and now it's getting ridiculous. And I really think that professional sports leagues need to speak out on this. Because if the fans are going to listen to anybody, they'll listen to the teams. If Patrick Mahomes gets on the microphone and says, hey, yo-yos, leave your guns at home, there's a 99.9% chance that even that fat meatball who's sitting in his mother's basement with the marinara stains on his T-shirt is actually going to say, hey, you know what? It might not be a good idea to bring my pistol. I think I'll leave it home.
You know,
I mean, it's getting ridiculous now.
You know, CJ, I think it's a little bit more involved in that. It started as a fight, from what I understand, and they don't fight with their fists anymore. You got to be worried about a gun. We're talking about a bunch of kids. It wasn't.
They look like kids. The two they arrested.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really did not.
But you know, kids look like adults these days. But you guys are probably right.
These were some big kids.
Okay, so maybe it was adults. But listen, that's you know, it's the Wild West out there right now. You can't go shopping, you can't go to a game, you can't. You know, it's just not in sports. It's anywhere there's a lot of people and some idiot wants to get some kind of fame or whatever the reasoning is. It could be mental health. I guarantee there's something wrong with one of at least one of the guys. But you know, it's a shame. Yeah, it's to go out today.
Maybe the guy bet on the 49ers and lost like $100K, $150K, $200K, and he's like that mad that he figures he's got nothing to lose, so he's going to go and he's going to shoot a few people. You never know.
Nah, you really don't. Yeah, I don't know. So I was talking to Bo right now about Seattle, the Seattle Seahawks, about some of the things they're doing. What they got the you know, things they got to talk about. DK Metcalf was the decision that has to be made by Friday, because that's when his money, I guess, becomes guaranteed. The last year of his contract, if I'm not mistaken, Bo. So you're talking $12 million. What do you think they do? Are they going to work on a friendly deal? Did they let him walk? I mean, what's going to happen?
I think you take phone calls. Take phone calls. It's a situation where they're going to have some cap casualties, and you know, if you can save some money there, if you can save some money, it's not going to be the prettiest money savings, but if you can move on from Jamal Adams, who, you know, unfortunately just hasn't been healthy, and you know, a couple of those guys are going to be on the outside looking in. You can still get some really good draft capital in a trade for DK, right? He's proven even this season, he's still one of the fastest guys in the league. You know, I'm sure there's a coaching staff that thinks that they can coach some of those personal fouls out of him. But yeah, I mean, someone will trade for him.
They're not going to trade him, and I'll tell you why. $12 million is a drop in the bucket right now.
Yeah, his cap hit's bigger than that.
Yeah, but they're not going to trade him because him and the other receiver they're hard to find with those kind of abilities.
I agree.
They might cut. You were right about Jamal Adams, but they're not going to cut DK or trade him.
So the thing, well, let me double check this.
Robert makes a good point. Robert Lockett is probably the one who's in danger.
Well, he has
Lockett. Oh, good. What was that?
I was going to say Metcalf is guaranteed $13 million, becomes fully guaranteed this Friday.
Yeah, but his cap hit is like 20. It's like 24, if I remember right.
Right.
So I mean,
they can change that. What they'll do is they'll put it into a bonus.
Yeah, so if they extend him, if they extend him, do a signing bonus, right? But that's predicated on them extending it. Yeah. So it depends on what it is they see. You know, it's something where you do have some guys coming from the college ranks, so they may have some insight on some kids they can draft, especially if you end up with a decent return for him. So, you know, he's a position that I'm interested to see what it is they do. I could see them moving on if the call was right. If it was worthwhile, I could see them making that move. But there's no need for them to. There's other guys they can get off the roster. Yeah. So it would have to be a great phone call. But I think he's on the table.
I think he's way back there. I think Jamal Adams is up front.
He's real close to the front.
Yeah.
He's driving that bus.
we know we thoroughly talk about NBA on this show too, but Seattle no longer has a basketball team. You know, Seattle Supersonics. I don't know. But anyway, we'll guarantee we'll have Bo jumping in here with some more opinions. So let's get to Jim real quick. Now I gotta approach this because I've heard so many different points of views. Mainly they're mine. You know, it's the Super Bowl. You're the head coach. You're standing there with your play sheet, and then this crazy tight end comes up, bumps you, almost knocks the sheet out of your hand, and starts screaming in your face. Now, I don't know. There's been, you know, he's what was a couple of things they said. He's into the game. He's passionate. That is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. Every player there is passionate. You don't have to run into the head coach and to let him know that you're not happy. What would have happened to you, Jim, if you decided to do that to say Jimmy Johnson? What would have happened?
We've done it before.
Yes.
You know, sometimes you're in the heat of the moment and you don't realize that you're doing something that, and he apologized. He said that was uncalled for. It should have never happened. But if you remember this year, Chris Jones did the same thing to his position coach.
No, we're talking the head coach, Jim. We're talking the head coach. We're not talking about the position.
But you see how Andy Reid handled it. He handled it, and maybe he went to him after the game and said, hey, we can't have that. But at the heat of the moment, players get like that. So I'm just telling you, that's the honest truth. That is just the way it is.
I have never seen till the Super Bowl a player run up, bump into the head coach, and start screaming in his face. I've never seen that.
And it was wrong. And he said it was wrong. He admitted on their show with his brother that it shouldn't have never happened. He apologized. He said he apologized to Andy. It was the heat of the moment, and things are going to happen.
Oh, come on, Jim.
Well, I mean,
who won the game? And how he was.
Come on, that's a point. Listen, let me tell you something.
Owning what he did.
If he did that to Campbell on the Detroit Lions head coach, there might have been a fist fight there. You know, and he might have ended up on the bench. And I don't know who would have won that. And I guarantee you, well, Campbell said he would have. And I guarantee you this: if he did that to Bill Parcells, he would have went home right then.
No, he wouldn't. Because Keyshawn Johnson did it all the time. So
there was an incident.
I've been in those places. I've been in that situation.
I don't know if y'all remember Robbie Anderson did that with the Panthers, and they left his butt right in Arizona.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Robbie Anderson.
I'm just telling you. Panthers, I've seen it
and
happen.
They left him.
And you get it after the game. You say, "Hey, that shouldn't have happened." But sometimes in the heat of the moment, Michael Irvin.
Anybody can listen. The only reason why he said that was his brother called it on the show. He told him.
Yeah, he called him out, but he was wrong, and he knows he was wrong.
But
sometimes your emotions get the best.
Oh, come on, Jim. Come on, Jim. I don't care.
I'm not going to side with you on this. I know
listen, you don't have to side with me on this. I don't care what you say. That was totally disrespectful. That was totally disrespectful. You jump into an older man face as a head coach, and you screaming like a banshee at the man. The man should have been. I hope he gets fined. I hope the NFL fines his ass, because I'll tell you right now, if a coach grabs a hold of a player right now,
Andy Reid took care of it.
He didn't take care of it the way he should have been taken care of, Jim. If a coach grabs a player right now, what happens to him, Jim?
They grab him. They still.
What happens to him? Grab him, yell in his face. What happens? And you have kids watching the Super Bowl.
I agree, but sometimes in the heat of the moment, you lose your composure. That's just the way it is.
Jim, that's not an excuse.
That's what happened to the Baltimore Ravens. We saw it. Sometimes
I didn't see anybody jump. I didn't see anybody jump at Harbaugh's face and bump him. I didn't see that.
But I'm saying players can lose their composure.
I can't.
He probably would have been choke slammed by Dan Campbell if he tried that.
Oh,
I mean, for Rob in the comments there, he obviously didn't steal his nuggies, because Reed would have throttled him.
Yeah, if he would have stolen his nuggies.
That would have been a whole different fight. Whole different fight.
He had to be restrained. They were literally pulling him back.
They were.
I thought Jim, being a former coach who coaches kids even and works with kids, would say, listen, that was a disgrace. But he comes around. He surprised me, and he agrees with
his playing day.
No, I got into it with my players. I have gotten into it where it almost got physical. Sure. And we both time said, Coach, what are we doing? And I said, yeah, what are we doing? And as a player, that happened. That's just the way it is. You're in an intense situation. And
all the players are, Jim. All the players are, not just Travis Kelce.
Players react different.
He's ticked because he didn't get a ball because his girlfriend flew all the way in from wherever to see him. That's what that's all about.
Oh, man.
There it goes back to Taylor Swift.
He had that 1 yard reception in the first quarter. That's what he was mad about.
Yeah, exactly. He was out of the game. And when he got in the third and fourth quarter, what did he do?
It worked.
It worked.
Well, what he was mad about, yeah, he wasn't involved, right? 1 catch for 1 yard. But the play that he came up to him mad was he wasn't in on that play, and that was the play that the tight end was in his place, didn't make the block, and it was a fumble. They lost the ball. I'd have been heated in that scenario too.
That's exactly.
Now, I'm not going to go and bump the coach.
Like I've said, I'm not condoning it, but I'm telling you what happened and why some certain things happen. Chris Jones did the same thing.
To Andy Reid.
No, he did it to his position coach.
Listen, I've seen that too, Jim. That's a lot different. And for this dude to come on here, you don't know, man. This ain't no novel. He's a professional athlete. Yeah, they're all professional athletes, guy. They don't run up and bump and yell in the coach's face. What gives Travis Kelce? What gives him the fly? Why does he not
trying to speak?
How does a position coach matter over a head coach? A coach is a coach.
That's right. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. But you're going, you know what that's like doing? I hit the manager, I smack the manager, and I go up, I smack the CEO. What happens then? I get fired.
Right? You're going to get fired if you smack the CEO. I mean, the manager. What are you talking about?
You might get suspended. But you're not going to, I'm telling you right now.
If you're in a corporate environment, no, you're getting fired either way.
That's
but,
exactly
right.
That's why I like Bo.
Let me tell you something.
Hold on.
I'm not agreeing with him.
Bill Belichick, let me tell you something. Bill Belichick, during the Super Bowl, his defensive back came up and gave him some stuff. And guess what? He sat on the bench for the rest of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they lost.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Well, it wasn't because he sat the defensive back down that they lost.
Yes, it was.
It actually was. That defense was wildly different.
So don't.
That defense was wildly different without him in there. But the thing is if you played, having a coach grab your face mask and yell at you is part of the game.
And I'm telling you that they get fired for. I mean, they get rid of him for that now.
Depending on what level you're at.
Andy Reid looked weak right then. He made his coach look weak. I'm sorry, he did.
He didn't make him look weak.
Andy
handled the situation.
He came up from a side. He didn't even see him.
Yeah, he didn't see it coming.
But Andy handled it right because that could have freaked everybody out. If Andy would say, "Get out of here," send him to the locker room. I mean, like I said, the guy was still the leading receiver. And Andy Reid handled it. He went over and said,
after yelling at Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes says, "I'm going to make you look good. I'm going to start throwing you the ball now." But
no,
anyway.
That's not how it happened. Andy Reid at halftime probably called him in and said,
I forgot I'm supposed to bring popcorn to this show.
It's entertaining. It's all about entertainment, Bowen. Listen, whether I agree with what I'm saying or not, I'm going to antagonize anybody I can. Jim, let's get to the Cowboys. All right.
Did you just say if you agree with what you're saying?
Yes, if I agree or not with what
I heard what you heard, Bo.
I'm just telling you. That's how I roll. Let me tell you. I want the best entertainment I can have for this hour. I don't care what I have to do it. So,
and can I say something real quick before you go to that? So when you guys tease me about doing this is CJ's signature. This is not on air stuff. He does this in his show. So I just want to insert that because I've been waiting to say that so you guys don't think there's nothing sad, okay?
Oh, no. I actually only laughed because
that's my signature.
Matt
he prefaced it with the shooting.
CJ, I like
I didn't know.
The timing was bad, Sonya. The timing was bad. That's all. We're not saying CJ like that. Come on, we know better.
No, but on Sunday's show, you did say, "Oh, Sonya and CJ got this whole little flirting thing," and I was like, "No, this."
Why do you see? You want to bring us?
Because it came up
now,
tonight.
Listen, now you're starting something. I ain't saying anything. You're going to bring that back up, so that makes me think certain things.
I want to put it in red.
Let's get to the Cowboys.
At least it's not on live TV.
Yeah. Jim, can we talk about the Cowboys, please? All right. So, okay. After another talk with Rex Ryan, for some reason, they called him again. They finally hired Zimmerman as a defensive coordinator. Do you think that they when they called Rex Ryan back up, that Rex Ryan said, "Nah, I'm good now"? I mean, we already had a talk.
They were trying to get him to be the D-line coach. Rex was a heck of a D-line coach. Mike is I've worked with Mike many years. And Mike, he is he's a good football coach. His father was a high school coach. He's won state championships in Illinois. And he works really hard, but he's not for everybody. Not everybody can deal with him because he's going to hard coach him now. He's going to tell him what he's thinking. That's just how he is. I mean, and that's it. But he will not do anything that he won't do. I mean, I've been there 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and he's just trying to figure out a play. He'll look at that play. That's why his eyes are all messed up. That's why he had to get for the cataracts. You think I'm kidding? Because he will sit there and make sure he knows the guy's a good coach now, but he is not for everybody because of his personality. And his father's the same way. His father's passed, but he was the same way.
He was the third winningest coach that the Vikings had. So
he's a good coach. Now, don't fool yourself. And he's going to have them. There are going to be players that can't deal with him.
Oh, he's a tough guy. Yeah, he's from the Parcells tree. I mean, he's a disciple of Parcells.
He's not from the Parcells tree. I don't know why people say that.
Because he coached with
he coached shortly for Parcells. Yeah. If anybody, he's Dave Campbell's guy. Campbell taught him. Campbell had him in Washington State. He brought him into Washington State. He brought him to the Cowboys. He is not a Parcells guy. He is
his first coaching job in the NFL was underneath.
No, it was not.
Who was it?
It was under Chan Gailey. Well, no, actually, it was under Barry Switzer. And then when Barry Switzer left, and then Dave Campbell was the guy. He was his assistant. Zim was his assistant. And then Zim, when Campbell got the head job, he became the coordinator. So I don't know why people say that. He's been with the Cowboys since the Super Bowls when he was there. He wasn't a Parcells guy.
Okay. All right.
He worked for Bill. He worked for Bill.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So Guy is talking about the 40 guy. We covered a lot of this stuff in the beginning of the show. You got to get in here early with this guy, with as far as the DC shooting and all that stuff goes. So, but I still think Rex Ryan. First of all, if you offer him defensive coordinator, then you offer him defensive line coach. That's kind of saying, So Rex, I would imagine, said no thanks. I got a good job.
Probably did, but Rex was a heck of a D line coach. I'm telling you.
The linebacker crew for free agency. Is that the most important grouping you think you got to get together? Whether it's free agency,
you got to get a guy like Patrick Queen, because you got some young players, but it's a possibility that the Vander Esch probably will never play again because of his neck injury.
How about the Josh Allen? Yeah, somebody's yelling. How about the Josh Allen from the Jags? He's becoming a free agent. Is that something maybe the Cowboys should go after?
Possibility, or Hassan Riddick.
Yeah,
because you can't. You're gonna need somebody opposite of Micah Parsons. He's done 3-4. He learned 3-4 like all of us did when Parcells came, but he's a 4-3 guy.
Right. Okay.
They're saying Hassan Riddick is leaving the Eagles. He said he didn't know anything about it, but came out that he's leaving.
But he's a good coach, and he'll improve him. And like I said, along the way, some guys are going to say, "Hey, I got to get out of here because Zim is crazy." I'm just telling you, but he will improve him.
That was actually one of the things I was surprised about was Zimmer getting that job, because just across the league as a whole, coaches that coach hard, that negative reinforcement type of coach, didn't get hired this cycle, right?
I mean, true.
Even Bill O'Brien had to go all the way down to Boston College to actually get a spot.
You're right. But he's had relationship with the Joneses over the years.
No, for sure. I mean, it made sense for him to go there. It made sense for him to go there, but
but I'm sure
they had him as OC, right, in Ohio first, and then is that the same one that was only with Ohio for like a month? Yeah,
he was at Ohio State, and then he went
as a OC, and then they moved. Yeah, he didn't stay long. He didn't even stay long to coach.
No, he didn't.
So let's get CJ in here really quick, because we haven't talked to him yet since since I kind of said what I said. So CJ, the combine and the draft. I mean, a lot of teams have built, Super Bowl teams. Not a lot, but a few have built their Super Bowl teams through the free agency. The Rams did it. Tampa Bay did it. And it looked like the Jets were trying to do that last year, right? They get Rodgers, they get some of his wide receivers with them, try to keep them all together. It works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. What do you think? Do you think next year maybe that this kind of plan can work for them?
Well, next year, the New York Jets, if they don't make the playoffs and if they don't at least make a deep run within the playoffs, I thoroughly expect Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to be fired. Not only do I expect that, but I also expect them to blow up the roster, at least within reason, to try to maintain a lot of the draft picks that they've had. Because believe it or not, if you actually go and take a look at Robert Saleh's body of work and Joe Douglas, now it's kind of unfair to put them both on the hot seat, but in today's NFL, they want immediate results. We live in a microwavable society. And the problem is that you cannot microwave competitive sustainability. Two words that I say over and over and over again on my show, and I will continue to say until they put me in a box in the ground. The only way that you get competitive sustainability is by A, fortifying the interior core through your draft. B, being smart about free agency deals and your cap. And C, having a coaching staff that can actually coach people. Once you have that, then you will be able to have competitive sustainability. Now, that being said, I do expect the New York Jets to go all in. Now, getting back to I expect them to be heavy within free agency, and I also, believe it or not, expect them to be heavy within the draft. Now, when you take a look at Robert Saleh's body of work, okay, he came over to a team that was pretty much fumbled by Adam Gase. So his first year, you really can't count against him, but the problem is that's not how the Jet fan base feels. The Jet fan base, when Robert Saleh came over, he thought that instantly the New York Jets were going to be the San Francisco 49ers East. And that's not the way that it works. Now, one thing that Robert Saleh has done, he has vastly improved the New York Jets defense. The New York Jets defense, with their eyes closed, is the top 5 NFL defense. I will put that statement up against anybody who will even dare to challenge me. All right? And especially the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, in which if we had another quarterback not named Zach Wilson, we'd probably win that game. So anybody who wants to bring up the Kansas City Chiefs, put that right back in your back pocket and keep it there. Now, that being said, Joe Douglas, when you take a look at his drafts, right? Joe Douglas's first draft was all wrapped around Adam Gase. You can't penalize him for that because he has to build his team around his head coach. Once Gase was out, then once he brought in Robert Saleh, now that's his guy. Now the two of them put together a plan. And a lot of people want to say, oh, well, GMs are only going to say that they have a year plan which coincides with their contract. Bullshit. This guy wants to win. That's why Aaron Rodgers is here in New York.
But he doesn't have a choice, right, CJ? Because
right.
Woody Johnson, he put Wilson and Salah on notice. He put them on notice this week.
Oh, he put Joe Douglas on notice.
Yeah.
He put Robert Saleh on notice.
Yep.
But the thing is that they were already on notice. From the moment the Patriot game ended. And the reason being, and if you don't believe me, go back and go watch the exit interviews that Robert Saleh did and Joe Douglas did.
Yeah.
And they both said it's not acceptable. 7 wins is not acceptable. Woody Johnson comes out and says it 3 weeks later, and all of a sudden, here we go, Woody Johnson. Stop. They know what they need to do.
But Woody Johnson is writing the checks.
Right. But here's the problem, too.
And Travis Kelce
called to draft Zach Wilson. So Woody Johnson needs to do one thing and one thing only. Shut his fat mouth, worry about making baby oil and baby shampoo and all the Johnson & Johnson products, and leave the football decisions to Joe Douglas. Because when you've left the football decisions to Joe Douglas, guess what? We went from being a top 20 defense to a top 5 defense. Now, our offense has suffered, but that tends to suffer when you hire defensive coaches. And plus, they brought Mike LaFleur in, who didn't have a clue. Okay, but how much of that was on Mike LaFleur and how much of that was on Zach Wilson? We saw Mike White go in there and do really well in Mike LaFleur's system. So,
didn't Joe Douglas draft Zach Wilson?
Joe Douglas drafted Zach Wilson under orders from Woody Johnson. Joe Douglas wanted Penny Sewell. That's what Robert Saleh wanted too. That's who they were going to take with the number 2 pick overall. They did not want Zach Wilson. They were told by Woody Johnson to pick Zach Wilson.
They probably would have played Penny Sewell at left tackle, and that would have been a disaster. Right. No, I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny.
You want to know something?
He said left tackle
I'd be surprised if that exactly what happened. But you know what? Joe Douglas knew he swung and missed on Becton. He knows he's got a stud in AVT. Now you've got Joe Tippmann. He's got Max Mitchell. You've got pieces that you can build an offensive line there.
Yeah, well, they're going to get Bakhtiari. They're going to
They will.
Bakhtiari.
They will. They'll get Bakhtiari. And then on top of it, there's probably a couple of other free agent offensive linemen that I'm sure Joe Douglas has got a short list and then a list after that, and then a list after that.
And that'll make Aaron Rodgers happy too.
Right. But the thing is that everything hinges on Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And the reason why I gave the Jets the criticism, and I still give them the criticism for the 2023 season, was they had no backup plan when Aaron Rodgers went down.
I agree with you 100%.
No, zero. Okay. And they had Carson Wentz reach out to them, and they were like, nah, I'm good. Joe Flacco supposedly reached out to them. Nah, I'm good.
Even the Giants have a backup plan with Fredo.
You know, it's just, if they would have actually addressed listen, don't even put this bozo's comment in there. You need to ban this kid.
CJ. Coming in at the top of the show, I got a couple topics I want your opinions on. Right? Let's first go to the overtime.
I'll save the rest for Weapon Top Nation briefs. Be sure to tune in.
The overtime rule and the playoffs down to Super Bowl. Some San Francisco 49er players said they didn't understand it, which I don't believe. I mean, if it's true, I don't know what to tell them. Everybody else in the whole country that's a football fan knows it now. So I don't know if that's true or not. But if the old rules were still in effect 4 years ago, however long it's been, San Francisco would have won that Super Bowl. The game is over. They scored first. And now it seems like it's the Super Bowl is like a participation trophy award, right? You get the ball, but now you get the ball too because you didn't stop the other team. And to me, listen, it's all about the team. It's not about the offense. If the defense can't stop the San Francisco 49ers, either by getting a turnover or 4 and out or whatever the case may be, they don't deserve to win the game. I said the same thing about the Buffalo Bills before they changed the rule. They had 13 seconds to stop the Kansas City Chiefs from getting a touchdown or scoring. They couldn't do it. And I want to get your opinions on this because, again, take the old rules away, the 49ers are Super Bowl champions. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree, but that's not it's not 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's today. Yeah. And the thing is that Mike Shanahan has taken a lot of heat for not understanding the overtime rules. However, the caveat that I have to it is this. Once the fourth quarter ended, Kyle Shanahan called the team over along with the officials. Okay, the officials explained it to everyone who was standing there.
Yeah.
So which means when Mike Juszczyk said, "Oh, well, I didn't know," and Eric Armstead said, "Well, oh, I didn't know," well, then maybe you should have taken the cauliflower out of your ears and you should have been paying attention to when the officials came over to the sideline to tell you guys what needed to get done.
And then Joe what's Boza, whatever.
Yep.
First,
they literally said it was a new game.
Yeah,
they literally said it was a new game.
It's a brand new game.
Yeah, I don't like that. It's horrible.
I mean, college does it all the time.
Absolutely.
So you should have studied it and know what the situation is. You should have deferred the ball because that would have gave you 4 and out.
Well, you know why he didn't defer the ball, and he later said this. John Lynch even backed it up.
Yeah,
because the defense was gassed at the end of the fourth quarter, shortly after Kansas City tied it, and he was trying to give his defense as much time as they could to rest and to catch their breath. However, here's the thing. If the 49ers would have scored a touchdown instead of settling for a field goal,
the game's over.
Right. No, actually, it wouldn't have been over.
It's not anymore.
Because Kansas City would have still
No. Understand. If they scored a touchdown, the game's over. If they score a field goal, this game goes on.
No, so that was
not according to the
that
rules.
used to be.
The new rules is
look it up. I'm telling you.
No. Regardless whether you score a touchdown or a field goal,
you can.
The second team now has to drive the field, and they either match you or they beat you.
Right.
So, which means if the 49ers would have scored a touchdown, and the 49ers would have held KC to a field goal, the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl.
Right. Or it
If
would
the
have went
49ers
double
score a
overtime.
touchdown and then KC scores a touchdown,
Double
they both
overtime.
have scored. Now it's sudden death.
Now you see,
Yeah.
now
Whoever scores
now
next,
you see,
that's the
you
winner.
see what I'm saying? It's no longer football now. It's no longer a
Right.
football team
It's,
now.
it's becoming a joke.
It's not even football anymore. It's who gets the ball last, and we got to give everybody a chance at the ball.
So
it's like that's
so
what
that
bothers
right
me.
there,
Matt,
right
put it
there is
this
why
way.
I would have
It's
wanted
been-
that right there is why I would have taken the ball first. My defense was tired. They just let KC move down the field. You get the ball, you score, right? In some facet. You
Right.
hope the defense has had enough time to rest and plays similar to how they did most of the game, right? So if you can limit them to that field goal, you're playing for that third possession, right?
Yes,
Because
it sounds
third
good.
possession is the one
but-
that matters.
It sounds good, but you're playing against any other quarterback but Patrick Mahomes. That
Well, no.
probably
So,
wouldn't
but
work.
here's the thing about that is if you don't do that, you defer. That means you are almost guaranteeing Mahomes gets the ball twice in overtime. If you
listen,
take the ball,
I
he
don't
gets it
disagree with
once and you get it back.
I don't disagree with that either. I'm just saying, CJ. I mean, that's the three. I'm talking about the three thing. Listen, if I'm playing any other quarterback besides maybe Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, I take the ball. I mean, I ain't worried about whether they can come back and score or not. I could understand that. But when you're playing
Put it
Patrick
this way,
Mahomes,
it's like
you have
Game 7 of the Stanley
would
Cup Final
figure-
being
you would
decided by a
figure-
shootout.
you would figure that
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes in some way is going to score a touchdown. I just feel that way. And
Even
maybe
with
Josh
a few
Allen.
seconds left, and they almost milked
Yes.
the whole clock down 7 freaking seconds. Crazy.
So that's the other change for this time around is they would have went into a second overtime and let them finish
Yeah.
the drive.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
that's
Yes,
that's-
oh yeah,
One
Right.
more thing, one more topic for you guys: load management in the NBA as opposed to other sports. I used to think load management was a bad thing because the fans want to see blah blah. I get all that, but this may have cost the Philadelphia 76ers their season. This rule in particular, because they got fined for not playing a couple players. One of them was Embiid. Embiid goes out and plays, and it is partly. I think maybe the 76ers were kind of edged to let him play because of getting fined again, and now he's out for the season. Now I get it. I mean, I hate load management, but in certain cases, especially when it's injuries, I think maybe they should kind of redo this rule a little bit. Maybe they got to report it better. I don't know. But you got the Philadelphia 76ers now without their all world center now that probably won't maybe not even make it for the playoffs. We don't know. We know he's out for the rest of the season. What do you guys think about that?
yeah. I think it's something they put into play to try to protect both the player as well as the agency, because to make sure that player is actually out and recovering or what have you. But it does come back in kind of like a double standard for them to be penalized for that. But then, like you said, now Embiid is out. He's going to be out at least 65 games. So because I feel like they forced him, to play when he was already kind of going towards being injured permanently.
Yeah, I think you shouldn't be. I think there should be amendments to the rule in the way of if it is a season-ending injury or something like that, maybe that rule doesn't apply, right? Because you're costing people money by not being able to be there, and it's not because they're load management, right? It's not like it's Kawhi who's just like, I don't feel like playing today.
Right.
Yes, this 65-game rule needs to be there because nobody wants to buy tickets to watch your bench players get smoked by a full-on team. Right? Nobody wants to see that. No one wants to see it on TV. You surely don't want to see it in the stands. So this rule had to happen because of how much load management is happening across the league.
I agree.
That being said, there needs to be something in place.
They have to find a happy medium.
Exactly.
I agree. And you know something, Bo, it's in your area. I'll say this before we leave. It's not for the fans. It's for the bettors because they want to know who's playing and who's not playing, and that's why they have that rule going on. They really don't give a damn about the fans.
To be fair, I only do that on football. I don't touch any other stuff.
Okay. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you had a great time. After this, should be the NFC East show. We got J&B Talking Shop coming up. We got Sonia coming up. Bo is always on. If you look, Bo's sports and
Everywhere.
CJ, of course, follow.
Both demands.
Have a great
Busy guy.
and we'll see you later.